Good morning, everybody. So, healthcare industry is projected to grow massively over the next decade in trillions. So we might consider the heading of a conference, just changing the magnitude. And of course, together with the industry growing because of aging population, the needs of people which are much higher, the technology advancements, chronic diseases, so on and so forth, health tech industry has a great opportunity to grow in several hundreds of billions over the next decade. And this is where we start from here. There are a number of verticals where this growth is going to materialize. Like telemedicine for sure is going to be more widely used. AI, which used to be a buzzword, is actually already in practice. Wearable devices, bioinformatics, radiology and imaging, all these kind of things. And now a question we have here to the panelists is fairly simple. Estonia has a unique set of advantages because of digital health record, what we have for entire population, but also the genomic bank, which we have in Tartu. So what we can do here in Estonia using the technology mindset to make this unique advantage to work for a benefit of all in the world. So maybe I start with Katrin on that question. So please.
Thank you very much and great to be here. So first of all, Estonia is a very unique country in this respect that we are a small country, but as addition to that, we are very advanced in many ways. And of course, quite a unique set of related to the health is genome data, what we can enrich here by putting together with the clinical data. And by this way, create such a unique proposal, what is not only important for citizens here in Estonia, but what can really have global impact. So I think this is something what we need to consider, because really taking into consideration all these aspects you just mentioned earlier, this is something what makes Estonia very unique and specific. And by involving, of course, all IT solutions to support that strategy.
Siim, you are in the business side as a founder. How do you see the prospects?
So earlier this year, we brought together a team of healthcare experts and ecosystem organizations to think about that questions. Under the new industry alliance called Health Founders Estonia, to specifically take a hard look at health tech and propose concrete solutions to the challenges that we have. And one of the conclusions from our analysis was that clearly the global competitiveness and the export capacity of our health tech companies is way below of many of our neighboring countries. So for example, compared to Finland, there is a threefold difference in the number of new health tech companies started every year. That turns into a 15-fold difference in capital raised and invested, and that in turn turns into a 50-fold difference in export volumes. So yes, we do have some very unique and interesting assets on a national level, like the e-health system, the biobank, but we haven't yet figured out how to turn them into competitive advantage for the new generation companies. So in a way, we've built the infrastructure layer, but the application layer is still lagging behind. And by application, I mean specific solutions for a clear clinical unmet needs that turn into companies that are actually able to grow outside of Estonia as well. So I would say in many ways, Estonian health tech is at the crossroads. We need a new vision, a strategy, and a new operating model to build those new success stories.
So we have a foundation, and now it's time to jump on to the next level. So Janika, from your end at the ministry, how do you see the same question and also from the angle of public-private partnership, which has been one of foundations and principles in Estonia building the digital society?
Yes, well, we live in interesting and challenging times as always, probably, meaning that we do have restrictions or actually limitations or challenges from European legislation. We have new European health data regulation in place and so on. That creates certain framework, let's say, but then inside this framework, we have to be more agile and flexible to really utilize all these benefits we have. And here I agree with TiB and with Katrin in regards to health data. We're really unique in having not only technology in place, but also like a huge pool of data. Yes, it's unstructured. Yes, it's not really very high quality and so on, but we have it. And yesterday I was in Radical Health Festival in Helsinki, and actually one of the companies, like very cool innovative company, approached me and said, you know, we want to test and pilot our solutions in Estonia, not because it's a huge business case, I'm sorry, he said, but because you're unique in having such a large variety of different health data, which means the genomic data, the e-health records, the prescriptions, and so on. And that creates a really unique opportunity to develop the personalized medicine, the personalized solution. So we do have to be this sandbox of innovative solutions, offering our access to our data in a secure and safe way to create these new solutions and to be the place where you can pilot, maybe in some light mode, certain products. We have to figure it out, how we can do it in European framework, but still in a light mode. So we can say that, yes, utilizing this data, we have piloted it at home, and now we're ready for export to other countries.
So if I get you all right, then we have a foundation. We kind of know the direction, or what shall we do, or what should we do, but something is it something holding us a bit back? Have we become too hesitant, or what's your feeling here? So are we hungry for innovation and thrive in the health tech field? So maybe Siim, you can respond first.
Well, I mean, from an entrepreneur's perspective, clearly, I think we need to be more ambitious. And I think we need to think outside of our own small ecosystem and really think more broadly than just 1.3 million people in our healthcare system and build solutions for them, right? This is important, but I think Estonia has a lot of potential to actually be a breeding ground for global health tech companies as well that will then go on to, impact billions of lives.
Katrin, how do you see it from a clinical side?
From the clinical side, I have to say that we are extremely hungry because working on a daily basis, we see what are the bottlenecks already right now, and we are looking really you guys to come and help us to overcome these bottlenecks. And if I'm talking here about keywords, I'm talking about aging of the population, chronic diseases, exacerbation, prophylactic at the same time, using gene data for treat our patients personally. As addition to that, we also need support related to the growing need for efficiencies related to the providing medical services. So yes, we are hungry.
So entrepreneurs are hungry, clinics are hungry. What about the ministry?
We have to be hungry, meaning that actually, in regards to evolution, we have to be hungry to survive, and we're kind of at this point when, yes, we do have aging population, we have lack of medical doctors, nurses, and so on. We have to find the innovative ways to still, not only provide the services that we have to, but to really support the innovation by using these new services and by solving our problems. So basically, it has to come together. We have challenges that we cannot solve on our own. We have medical doctors, nurses who are saying, we need some new tools, we need some new approaches, and we have companies that are saying, we want to create new products, so it has to come together, really.
Great. So the hunger is here, and that is, I think, and ambition, I think, Siim, you mentioned, that I think is also very, very important so that we can really leap forward big time. So if you now think of the 4 segments of the innovation journey, technological, clinical, regulatory, the business case, so where in these or out of these 4 we are most competitive, have some which is globally or regionally, and where do we need to catch up? And maybe we can start, why don't we start from you, Siim?
Sure. Mark Andreessen from A16Z, a famous venture capital firm, has a great mental model which I like, what he calls the onion theory of risk. So basically, according to that theory, startup journey is a journey of peeling away layers of risk until you reach your objectives. And as you mentioned, in healthcare, there are 4 main types of risk or areas that every company needs to look at. So clinical, regulatory, technological, and commercial. And when I think about, from a company's perspective, what does the journey through these different stages look like for an early stage company, then it's very fragmented, it's highly complex. It takes much longer for a health tech company to go to market than a regular B2B SaaS company, for example. And there are lots of bottlenecks and challenges within it. So I think maybe 3 things that we should think about. First, we should try to think about this innovation journey from the startups or the company's perspective, and really streamline the government agencies and the services and the regulations around that pathway instead of the other way around. Second, I think we need a fast-track clinical and regulatory validation system or pathway. It's been mentioned already before. Can we get a light version for companies to more quickly and simply validate their product so they can move to the next stage? And thirdly, which is very important, we need to close the pre-market funding gap. So it takes much longer for these technologies to reach market readiness, and many of the companies will not make it because they just run out of money. So there are certain funding gaps. There are some really great initiatives in Estonia, like the Applied Research Program from Enterprise Estonia, that position themselves within that space, but we need more initiatives like that. So in a way, it's sort of a country-level service design effort to build the best health tech innovation pathway for companies.
So Jaanika, how does it resonate with you, what Siim mentioned, including this fast-tracking and having some sort of speedier solution, and then at the end we will also come back to the money issue, but let's first talk about the regulatory side. So what is your reply?
This is actually what I was thinking about when I mentioned they have to be more agile, meaning that we do have certain limitations, but trying to figure out how we can find this fast track working inside our EU, our Estonian legislation. What can we do like less? What can we regulate less without putting any more risks on the healthcare providers, on the patients, and so on? So what is this basically balance? That because healthcare is one of the most regulated areas because of the safety, because of the, like, you need to be clinically proved, you need to have certificates. So we had to find this how much we can deregulate while keeping it still safe. We do have some ideas, and I'm very much sure that we will have very good brainstormings over the summer, because we are working on a new e-health strategy, and this strategy means also like finding these light modes or fast tracks or support mechanisms. But basically we had to first understand what is the exact problem that I want to remove. It's not about making regulation lighter, it's what is the exact bottleneck. Is it that we cannot certify our devices? Is it that we don't have, financing at certain stages? Is it that we need the Tervisekassa's Innovation Fund to have more pilots or so on? So let's pinpoint those and try to eliminate if we can.
Siim, do you have this list pinpointed?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
And I mean, from the regulatory perspective, absolutely, healthcare needs to be regulated. There's no question about that. But at some point, over-regulating starts hindering innovation. And I think we're seeing that trend in the wrong direction in the European Union in general. We tend to over-regulate things. So that's something to really think about.
I do agree. We tend to over-regulate things.
This is another great catchphrase that we overregulate in Europe. But can you just give like 1-2 specific examples where the regulation could have been lighter, missing, or designed differently? Just 1 or 2 examples.
Well, I mean, in healthcare and medical space, there are a number of different regulations that a company needs to adhere to. The medical device regulation, for example. Now, this year already, the new AI Act is coming into force, which also regulates medical devices and healthcare solutions. And I think it's not so much about the regulation itself, but how it's being implemented on different country level. So.
Okay, now I see Janika wants to respond to that one. And actually, I think implementation is something what really at the end of the day makes a big difference. I mean, if rules are the same, like on a paper, but they are implemented differently, then countries do rank differently. So Janika, what's your... and I get to Katrin in a second.
Yes, exactly. Yes. I was looking, sorry.
Yeah.
Well, actually, in certain cases, regulations are not so much even kind of over-regulating only, but they're slowing the innovation down, which is a very strange kind of issue. For example, we have European health data space regulation right now, which is saying that we should make priority categories of health data available in country for secondary use, for cross-border use in 4 years. It's like 4 years, we have it already available. Cannot we start exchanging it cross-border, giving it out for secondary use and so on? And then it's like 6 years and 8 years while we are ready already, which means basically that we can go faster than we are regulated. And this is also like a challenge to kind of push the regulations and saying that can the pioneers do it faster?
Katrin, you have now been listening to the exchange between the ministry and one of the startups. So how does it look from your end? So what do you are happy with? What do you feel is really disaster?
Yeah, I totally agree with what was said already before. And if we are talking about innovation, we are also somehow talking about speed. And if we are talking about implementation, so again, if we have clear, reliable data on what we can make reliable decisions on implementation, it is, should be, let's say, already almost enough to go very fast to implementation phase. But I also would like to suggest that, for example, for European Union, what we probably cannot avoid the regulation, what is coming from there, to set the very clear timelines, how long the regulatory path can take at all. So that is done already right now related to the clinical trials, related to the investigation of new drugs. Why not to implement such a very clearly identified pathway, as well very clearly identified timelines for the regulating and giving approvals for conducting technology-related investigations.
What it takes now if there is lack of regulation or there is lack of timeline, so from a clinic's point of view, is it holding back? Or put it differently, if there is no specific timeline, what prevents you to move faster?
Yeah, I think that there are so many different layers if every country is regulating this specifically. So there are so many different, let's say, layers and decision makers where the process can stuck. So I think that this is the main time-consuming.
Okay, Now, Jaanika and then Siim. Let's see if there is some disagreement.
Just one example when lack of regulation doesn't help or actually keeps you behind. We have once again, European Health Data Space that is saying basically that all the healthcare data should be available through secure processing platforms or environments. Okay, we kind of understand that's very good, but the regulating act specifying these environments will be ready in 2 years, so you will have to wait 2 plus something years until you can start doing it.
But do you really have to wait? What holds us back? I mean, if there is...
You don't have to wait. You can do something and then hope that it's still corresponding to the regulation, meaning to the technical specification, and you don't have to redo it, which costs also. Just one of the examples. Meaning that building something now and then building it once again according to the final requirements, it's always like, should I wait or should I do something and then change it?
I have a provocative idea here. So, yes, I understand there is a risk that if we move faster in certain segment, and then a few years down the line, it turns out that we went a little bit in the wrong direction. But another approach to the same question is, we move fast, we end up with a great product or service, and that great product or service, including its design, becomes the backbone of a new regulation. So we are shaping the regulation. I think that would be something. Would we be ready in Estonia?
We're actually doing that.
Somebody is uploading already, great.
We're actually doing that together with Finland, and we found a little hack for that. But still, it's an example that you need to hack it, and when it's keeping you back, basically. But yes, of course, we were smart. We find hack for everything, but still.
Siim.
Yeah, I fully agree. I mean, this is where the boldness comes in, right? So instead of waiting for guidelines and regulations to come from somewhere else, let's be the first to actually innovate in this space as well. But from a very practical founder's perspective, this regulatory or system burden actually translates into cost for the companies. So every day that we waste by waiting for an answer from a regulatory body, or we have to submit different data to, same data to different agencies, it's a cost. And it's a huge risk for early stage companies who, need to move fast.
So Katrin is also noting, so what we can do with it? Everybody, we have identified the problem, so when, startups line up, find a solution. Or a startup mindset finds a solution.
To take a leadership.
Our leadership is important. So that is what we lack, or? Okay, silence. So let's not dig into this, because otherwise there might be consequences, positive ones, of course. But this, I think, is really really important if we also in other fields of life. Usually, at least in my humble experience, regulation has always been following the market. Because it's really difficult to imagine that somebody comes up with a great regulation what will shape the innovation. Haven't yet experienced it. So I think we need to really find a little bit of this boldness inside us, and then with a proper leadership deliver and shape the regulation. And then you lose less money or time as an entrepreneur. But I have one question more for you, Katrin. So from a clinic's point of view, how open you are, or how willing you are to collaborate with the startups in the health tech field? Where do you see the benefit for a clinic?
Yeah, definitely we see a lot of benefit due to these issues I already mentioned. So all these, let's say, burning platforms are really requiring the help of better IT solutions. Also, it really needs help on practical, let's say, management of our patients. So taking into consideration all these, let's say, new ways of how we are able to treat our patients and also keep them healthy if they haven't have already these advanced diseases. This is something what we can involve a lot of technology. And this is something what is extremely important by moving forward. At the same time, they also need to focus on efficiency at the hospital level on this way that there is a need that IT companies will come and talk to us, and we would like to propose the issues what they could solve in a such way. So from this perspective, this fruitful cooperation is vitally important for us.
Great. So, Siim, we have quite a few minutes, very little, just 4 minutes left, but I want to touch also the funding point. So where do you see the biggest bottleneck? I mean, maybe some people are here in the audience who actually are ready and willing to invest.
Well, please find me afterwards. So as I mentioned, I mean, health and medtech in general, these products take longer time to bring to market. There needs to be clinical validation, regulatory certification, all sorts of different steps, which take time, which take resources. So usually the companies are able to, raise their first pre-seed funding for their idea, but then to move from the idea to a market-ready product can take years in some cases. So there are different funding gaps along that journey that we need to kind of think about very strategically, because a lot of good ideas, a lot of beneficial products never make it to market because of this valley of death in between the market.
So what you need is, in the simple terms, patient capital who could come and invest. So I guess Sille Petai from SmartCap is also in the room or is about to be in the room. So maybe this is also one ask what has been made from the stage. So,
and there's some really interesting public-private partnership type of funding instruments now as well.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
But please, finish.
Yeah, just finish your thoughts.
Like social impact bond, for example, from the UK, where actually the government and private investors partner to develop certain care pathways, for example, or medical solutions. So I think we need to be innovative in this funding space as well to find those new solutions.
Great. So, okay, tons of questions. A question from Mari has 7 thumbs up, and I will take this one. Where are the main bottlenecks for healthcare startups that could and need to be addressed, and now in capital letters, only by the governments?
Good question. Only by the government.
Yes.
I think if I think about what I mentioned, those 4 areas for a health tech company, the technological, clinical, regulatory, and commercial journeys or areas, then I think government in some shape or form touches all of them through different regulations, to different requirements, different agencies that are along that journey. So I don't think it needs to be a discussion. It needs to be a kind of a broad discussion between the companies and the government agencies and the policymakers as well to find the best solution. So I wouldn't delegate everything.
So we can't do without the government, seems. But that's okay. Jaanika, you want to add on this one, or you just agree?
I'm actually very happy to have this discussion, meaning that we see it very much the same way, that let's brainstorm on what are the main problems we are solving, what are the bottlenecks with these problems, and who can solve it. So definitely it's a start of the discussion, and actually we had it's a small inside information, probably, kidding, but we had a small light meeting yesterday with the Ministry of Economic Affairs and Enterprise Estonia to start already this discussion that how can we have this fast lane or fast track, so I'm very sure that it will be a very fruitful brainstorming, and from our side also.
Great. 10 seconds, quick question. When will the first health tech unicorn arise from Estonia? Katrin, you want to start?
As soon as possible, I would say.
Siim, you want to be more precise?
Yeah, the great thing about healthcare that there's so many unsolved problems and so many really exciting technologies on the horizon. So very hard to single out a specific area. What I would propose is let's think about how we can turn the whole country into a sort of health tech sandbox for breeding these new unicorns. Yeah.
Janika?
Yes, well, I kind of still remember these early Skype days when the Skype suddenly happened. Actually, it happened. It wasn't like we did something very good or right as a government. And then I started thinking that how there could be many 100 million companies, meaning maybe we don't have to have one unicorn. Maybe it's very cool if we have like hundreds of 10 million, 100 million companies. That is huge impact for economy as well.
Great. So Unicorn Factory is up and running. Stay tuned. It will come, maybe, as you see mentioned, entire country will become a unicorn. What's wrong with that? So, but we start from tens and hundreds and whatever millions, trillions. So thank you very much. Big round of applause
Thank you.
to panelists.